I'm life and business coach Samantha Siffring, and this is the Online Business Building Mamas podcast, where you learn how to build a wildly successful business from home while raising kids. Welcome to another episode of the Badass Mother podcast. I am really excited this week to introduce you to my husband and partner, Stuart. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey everyone, my name's Stuart. I'm Sam's wonderful supporting partner, as I'm sure she introduces myself all the time. But yeah, excited to be here on the podcast. I just, I'm here to support her as much as I can, but just to tell you a little bit about myself, I work full time. I'm out in the office Monday through Friday. I'm a mechanical engineer by trade, but right now I'm working in the oil and gas industry doing more like advocacy work. So yeah, kind of a starting step to be a lobbyist. Real popular job. But yeah, Sam's always doing such amazing work, and I'm just excited to be able to talk about some of her progress she's made that has supported not only me but the family. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Anything else you need to talk about?
Yeah. Okay. So, what do you think about my business, and how has that changed since I started it?
Yeah, your business is just such a great blessing, I guess you could say, to our family. It's not something I normally would call it, but it truly has been. Sam's always been just a real entrepreneurial type. She's been kind of doing her own thing, 1099 in for, I guess, ever since we had kids, 10 some odd years ago. And so just seeing the change that's happened over the last year and a half in the focus that she's made, the differences that she's done to make it more effective has been amazing. And so how's that kind of been for me? It's been great. Has been a long period of, maybe not making such a huge impact on our family's lifestyle. But now that there's been that constant, consistent growth, it's really made a huge difference in the way that we are able to live our lives. And I think, Sam, you're really smoking it now. Way to go.
So it sounds like maybe it was not legitimate in your eyes before, and now it is. Is that accurate?
You could say that, because it's what I see is the difference in the bank account. If there's tens of dollars flowing in from little projects here and there, that's exciting. That's a building block. But when it gets really legitimate is when it can have an impact on our lifestyle, and that's when the thousands of dollars start rolling in. It's something that I've really enjoyed seeing. So yeah, there's always been a certain amount of trust that I think I've put into you. Like, hey, you can go ahead and try this new venture, because I have the feeling that it'll pay off in the future. I have that, I guess you could say, a long time preference. I'm willing to invest in something personally, knowing that there'll be a payoff in the future. And I think that philosophy translates into investing into you and the business and helping out the family when you're focused on your things. So that's kind of what I'm thinking in terms of how that journey has been. It's been a long investment, and it's finally paying off from my point of view.
That's something that I say to a lot of my potential clients. When they know that they want to work with me, they know they want to sign up with me, and they're not sure what their husband's going to say about the investment. When they're in a situation like I was, being a stay-at-home mom and not having much of an income and wanting to invest, it's almost like you were the investor in that business. And I felt like the more that I showed how the investments paid off, the more that you felt comfortable with bigger investments. Do you agree?
Yeah, it totally has been just that proof is in the outcome. And it's been, I guess you could say, a risky investment in the first part, but the real payoff comes later. Personally, I'm fine living a cut down lifestyle for a short period of time, knowing that investment feeds into the business. And that's how it has been for many years, I think, up until recently. Um, so always been supportive as much as I can, and I'm willing to live on a cut down lifestyle, not take as many vacations or whatever it has been. And now that hard work has paid off. So yeah, it's just maybe getting your husband, your partner on board with that philosophy may be more difficult. It might be just a philosophical switch that needs to be flicked in your partner so that they can see that long-term investment. And that's something that I'm sure, Sam, you have a lot of a lot of impact or a lot of pointers for. But I think I was naturally set up to be a supportive partner in that way. So, hey, lucky you.
Lucky me. Okay, so let's get into some of the questions from my audience. I know at least among my actual clients, most of them have a husband who's an engineer or with a similar background, like
Yeah.
very analytical, logical kind of approach. So hopefully your engineer take on these questions will be really helpful to them. So the first one, this woman has been talking to her husband about her business. She's so excited. She brings the ups and downs and the questions and all of that to him, which I know you can relate to. You have been there for that. And he is supportive, but just sort of responds in the affirmative to everything. So she was wondering, is there a good way to get him to buy in and offer feedback? Is he totally turned off by this? He says he's not. But how can she not totally alienate him since he is not an entrepreneur or really into this?
Yeah, it really does sound like you're doing the right thing. Continuing to speak about the trials and tribulations you might be having with your business, I think is a really great way of opening that conversation and getting his support. And I think speaking as an engineer, a lot of times we want to solve the problems that your wife might bring to you. You want to be that fixer, which is probably what you're naturally wired to do. But it sounds like him being supportive and affirmative in his responses is probably the best way to support you. If you want more feedback, more interaction, then yeah, it may be difficult if it's not his thing, as you say. But I don't think you're probably alienating him at all. And I would say keep it up. If it's not working, then yeah, I guess try something else. But from my point of view, that's an effective way of opening up your business, which can oftentimes be a dark art. So the person who's not in it every day, all day long.
Dark art.
Yeah.
Well, I know that Stu, for sure, when I was starting my coaching business in particular, saw the ups and downs. And I tell this story a lot. And it sounds extreme. Like every other night, I would come in and be like, I'm so excited. I created this entire program. I built this entire website, whatever it was. And I was like on a high. And then the next night I would come in like sobbing, like no one clicked on my new website. No one signed up for my new program. And I think it was probably hard for you to see that up and down. What was your take on it?
It is such a physical manifestation of manic depressive or bipolar or whatever. Not that that's you at all, but it's the highs, it's the lows, and it's those waves. Not maybe during the same day, but definitely within the same week. And for me, it's fine. I'm pretty constantly, I'm a pretty constant floating ship, I guess you could say. But yeah, I think that there's really nothing wrong with that. It's that sort of up and down. It goes with sales. It's something that you'll hear from any sales program, any person who's been in sales, is that it's a constant struggle. It's constant up and down, hearing no, getting rejected, and having the support system, whether it's internal if you're on your own or from your support partner, your husband or wife, then that's the thing that really critically makes a difference, I think, in the future success of a business person, entrepreneur.
Yes. Okay. We have another question. I have done all this mindset work and research. I know my business will succeed. My husband has a harder time having faith in it because he hasn't done the research or put the time in. He believes in me, but he's having trouble believing in the business. So how can you have a conversation about having faith in someone else's dream? I think you can probably relate to this so much because I do so much mindset and belief work and probably sometimes say crazy things. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I've always bought into the mindset idea. It's the psychology of success is just as important as the mechanics of your business. So that's something that I think is a huge component that needs to be on point for you to have success. But getting your husband or your supportive partner bought in is a whole nother ballgame. It's another person that you need to convince and essentially sell on the idea. Not only the idea, but the effort and the financial investment that you'll need to make. So that's a whole different ballgame. It's trouble believing in the business is an issue that I think probably a lot of people deal with, because it is kind of like a black box to the person who's not actively managing the business. So in terms of advice or an idea of how to help have that conversation on how you be a supportive partner, that's a tough call, tough question.
Do you want to know what I think about it?
Please.
Okay. So my take is the only person who has to believe in your business for it to be successful is you. And your partner will believe when, like you said, the thousands of dollars are rolling in.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell all of my clients. Like, we don't have to convince him to believe in it. Like, eventually he's going to have to believe in it because it's going to be in his bank account or your joint bank account, you know?
Right.
So that's kind of my take on it. And I think his belief or lack of belief doesn't really matter as long as he's not antagonistic or she's not antagonistic about it.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
That's why I do this. Okay, next question. How do you set boundaries when it comes to working from home and your husband supporting you when you're working on your business, especially when he works all day? And how does the responsibility get shared? This really was relevant to us when I was first starting out. I feel like kind of less relevant now that our kids are at school all day. And that's when the bulk of my work is done. But I would be curious your thoughts. Like back when I was first starting, I had kids home all day. You were at work all day. You would come home and I would want to go work.
Right. Yeah, that was kind of the constant style of our weekdays for a long time. It doesn't matter what you were working on at the time, there would be some evening activity that would take us away from each other. And that was something that I can see a lot of people having trouble with, honestly. If you weren't able to be self-sufficient and taking care of the kids and putting them to bed, making dinner, or lunches for school, then it could be a difficult process. I always thought that, hey, I know that I'm doing this additional effort at night, because it's an investment in your business in the future. I feel like I keep on repeating that, but it's kind of the constant factor in my mind when there's maybe something I'm doing above and beyond my 40 hours in the office. And this is something that I think about. Your 40 hours a week that you work in a week is just kind of to get to baseline. That's just for the necessities. If you want to be investing in something that'll grow long term, then you need to put in more hours, more time. And that's how I saw my job in supporting you once I get home from work. Hey, I did the bare minimum, got my my day job out of the way. Now it's time to support the place in our family that has real growth potential. And that's always whoever's the entrepreneur. I've been happy being the kind of the 9 to 5 guy, knowing that stability helps allow for an entrepreneurial spirit to thrive. So that's really how I think our perfect relationship in terms of business stuff has gone. And we support each other because I think that the work you're doing is going to pay off and is something that can really help help grow and help our family.
Yeah. I think it's also important to note that you are a really hands-on dad, and I think that's not the case for a lot of guys out there, or
I keep
like
hearing stories like that. Yeah, that you can never leave me at home with the kids because I won't be able to put them to bed. You hear that kind of thing, or I get home and where's my dinner, that kind of thing.
Right.
But,
yeah.
And I'm happy to throw together some random meal for the kids. They don't mind if it's spaghetti and meatballs for 2 or 3 days in a row. So the kids are fine with it. They're resilient. They can handle not having mom around a little bit if they have them all day long. So yeah, it's been a good partnership, I think.
Yeah, and I think you're just like never afraid to just try stuff with the kids, to like cook some random meal with whatever you find in the pantry or like put them to bed or take them to the auto parts store or whatever, like you're not really fazed by that. And I think that's something that I try to encourage other women to lean into a bit, that like kind of throwing the husband or partner into it is good for them and good for the kids.
Yeah. Like I said, kids are resilient. They can tag along and not need to have something to entertain them all the time. And if they are ornery or annoying every once in a while, hey, that's all right. It's not like no one's seen kids misbehave in public.
Yeah, we're not afraid of that. Okay, so this one's kind of similar to that. How did you recognize that me staying home and building the business was work that needed to be prioritized, especially in the early days when it was a lot of building, but not a ton of money? So I'm going to weigh in a little bit at first. Before I was an entrepreneur, I was a stay-at-home mom. I had just completed my master's degree when our first was born, and we'd also just moved across the country. And I looked for jobs. I never wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. That was not my intention, but I applied for so many jobs when we moved out here. I continued to apply. Like, it was hard for me to even get interviews. It just was showing itself to me that it wasn't going to work out. And the things that kind of seemed like they might pan out were not going to pay enough to cover childcare, especially once we had more than one. So I felt like it wasn't necessarily a choice where it was like, I'm going to leave the workforce and become an entrepreneur. It was more like, I am at home and this is not what I intended, and I want to be doing something with my career, and I want to be making money. What can it be? What do you think about, like, from your perspective, on that? Like, how did you know when the lots of building and not making money was something that was worth doing and having be a priority?
I think really I like, if it's not the bank's getting bigger, then there has to be some other benefit to it. It might be your personality, your attitude. Maybe having a project that you're working on that's a entrepreneurial type bent is the thing that brightens your day. Being with the kids all day, stuck. Being hanging out with the kids, enjoying that lifestyle, maybe isn't a huge energy boost for a lot of people. And I feel like that might have been pretty much your case.
Yeah.
So having a project outside of the daytime hours when you can work on your own project and do self-discovery, self-improvement is just such a critical part of being a happy person. So I think that was a non-monetary benefit. And as long as, personally, I'm the kind of geek that likes doing our family's taxes by hand. So even when you were starting with a tiny business and there's a little bit of income and we could start deducting things off of our taxes, I saw the benefit immediately. All of a sudden you're able to write off your cell phone, your new computer and phone, and driving around town mileage. There's I feel like that was a benefit that anyone can enjoy regardless of the size of your business. So yeah, the early days, it was, hey, this is time outside of the things that need to get done that you can spend on your own thing. For you, it was running a business. For me, it's working on cars, or I guess we did do a lot of tag team. You would do an event one night, and the other night I would be starting, campaigning for state senate, or like I did a few years ago. So there's so many things that are outside of your normal day-to-day 9 to 5 that people want to do, and I think we did a good job of, and still do a good job of, doing that tag team effort.
Yeah, I think for us, something that's different than with some other families is that we hadn't established a lifestyle on 2 incomes, just because I couldn't find one. So I think that did make it a bit easier to kind of build from, although it made the investment feel tighter. I think any kind of investment that I ever wanted to do felt a little more risky. But yeah, I think you're right. We've always kind of understood that the other had a passion or interest that they were pursuing at that time, and took turns, different nights of the week making it work.
Right.
Okay, so you kind of hinted at this a little. Does Stuart do any specific jobs for your business? Like, did he ever do your bookkeeping or anything like that? Tell me, what do you do?
Yeah, that's something I get a kick out of. It's keeping track of expenses, having spreadsheets left and right, and doing the taxes for our personal accounts and the business. So that's something I always felt like is a good support for you. I don't know if how else we would do it besides hiring some accountant and something like that. But that's where I get a kick out of helping out. What else is there? What else do I do? Nothing. It's all.
Sometimes we talk about this, like, would you ever want to be retired by my business and work in my business?
Yeah.
And I'm always just like, I don't think there's anything you'd want to do. And you're always like, maybe there is.
Yeah, I remember in the early days, you're like, hey, I'll put you on my Facebook account and you can help deal with ads or something like that. And
you were supposed to learn how to do Facebook ads, and you didn't.
I really screwed that one up. So, but no, that's the kind of thing that I want to do. Didn't ever make it a priority. So yeah, sorry. You're on your own, Sammy.
Okay. This question just made me laugh. Is Samantha always so calm, cool, and collected? What is your take on this question? He's like, what Samantha are you talking about?
That can't be right. It's it's really interesting to see that the more success that you've had with your business, the more calm, cool, and collected you've been. It might be just kind of a reflection of a new model or a coach that you had that kind of set your mindset properly. Because I did notice a real change in the emotional stability.
Here's the truth.
Right. And it's a couple of years ago, and that's really a huge component of having having a successful partnership.
Yeah. So, well, you cannot embarrass me in front of the listeners of this podcast. I'm pretty open.
Yeah.
Like, I am crazy. But I do think you're right. I think, particularly the work of Brooke Castillo completely has changed my emotional health, and how I deal with stuff. And, Yeah, I mean, when I saw this question, I was like, wow, he's going to find that one really funny because that's probably not how he sees me at all. But I also have heard like the most successful people are the most calm and relaxed people. And I
Yeah,
do think you're right. Like the more successful I am, the more I feel like more chill, like not all the time
yeah,
chill, but
sure.
like more,
Yeah,
more of the time.
yeah, yeah. I feel like I don't know what if it's a chicken or the egg thing. Was it finding success that brought the calmness, or was it finding a mindset model that brought that along?
Probably the mindset.
Okay, yeah, it doesn't surprise me at
Yeah.
all. But either way, hey, it's been awesome.
Next question. Do you get this crazy new frontier of online business?
Absolutely, it's personally, I feel like I would have a hard time jumping in to an entrepreneurial type role on the online field, just because I don't think I'm the best self promoter or necessarily the greatest at building groups. Like I think a lot of people have success with. So yeah, I get it. You see it all over the place. People just YouTube following, a Facebook group. They're a business that is able to thrive just in this new frontier, and it's been fun to see it grow since the early days. It's I think back when podcasts were just first a thing, I remember listening to a business podcast that had to do with this guy's philosophy of there's two different types of people, two types of entrepreneurs. One is more of a classic entrepreneur coming up with ideas and really almost frantically jumping from one thing to the next. And then there's the value creators, people that find something that's maybe distressed, and turns trash into gold, essentially, is what you could think of. And um, that kind of spoke to me. And I'd see you as the classic entrepreneur, and me when I get a chance to work on something, it's more of that value creation type path, which I think is really interesting to see how those two things go together.
I think it's funny that I'm the frantic entrepreneur.
Yeah, you definitely not frantic and moving from one thing to the next every minute, every hour, but every couple of years. For a long time there was a new business, and it was just a matter of time before you found the one that worked.
That is true. Yeah. I was definitely not afraid to try a new thing and totally throw something away.
Yeah, right. Which I think is a good quality to have.
So, last topic. What advice would you give to women just starting their business who need their husband's support before they start making money? I am assuming this is like, I want to invest and I need him to say yes because I haven't made any money. What things would a husband want or need to hear for buy-in? I know we both have answers for this. I want you to go first.
All right. I think it really does just, personally, my natural inclination is to say, okay, start small. Start with something small, a small investment into the business, and bootstrap or cash flow or snowball your way into further success. That's the way I would do it. And that might be a way a lot of men or husbands would think about the business itself too. But whenever you've pushed me outside my comfort zone, there's this thing I want to do. There's this class, this new business that I want to start off with. It's always felt uncomfortable to me. And yet it's always been a success.
Yeah.
So I think, you have your wife, your partner, and you trust them with so many things in your world. Trust them in this arena too. And if maybe the first time doesn't work, entrepreneurship is a risky business, and you might have a couple goose eggs before you get the golden egg. So just trust your partner, believe in the investment, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But that she's going to be a success because she's a success in other parts of her life. So have that confidence.
Yeah.
That's critical.
I think that your confidence comes from me coming to you from a confident place. Like, you're not going to believe before I believe. So I think there's a big difference in the investment where I'm like, so like there's this thing, it costs like thousands of dollars. What do you think? Like, of course you're going to be like, no.
Yeah.
But, there's also been times where I'm like, I think this is the thing that's going to make the difference for me. Here's why. And I'm going to do it, basically. And you're just like, okay.
Yeah, I'm so used to the rule of thumb, however many hundreds of dollars something costs, that's how many days you should like sleep on it. That's something I remember my mom saying a lot. So
oh my.
a couple $1,000s, all right, well, you better think about it for a week before you jump into that. And that's not something that I do anymore, but
no.
in certain parts of our lives, that was my mindset.
Oh, I didn't even know about this mindset.
Never heard that one?
No. I just knew it had to be $1 per wear for a clothing item.
That's the other rule, yeah.
We don't follow that rule. Maybe you do.
I think I still do. So yeah, there's, gosh. Yeah. I don't know what else is confident, but yeah, having that, coming to that person from a point of confidence is a huge point of it, of making it a success.
Yeah. And it's so funny. I think, my most recent investment in my business is the biggest one ever, all in one lump sum, really big deal. And it was like the easiest investment that I ever ran past you, partially because I was like, well, I'm, this is my thing. Like, I'm paying for it. It's none of your business, really. I had kind of that attitude about it. But
it's fun money, yeah.
Yeah, but I also wanted to be like, heads up, I'm doing this, and not just be like totally cutting you out of the process. But it was really interesting how you were just like, anytime you invest in something, it always comes back. And like, you had no doubts that I would easily make my money back and more.
No, I didn't. I still had questions for you. I still wanted to make sure, if I were to make an investment like that, what would go through my head? And I brought those questions up to you. And, is this something that you'll get a lot of value out of? Is it a better use of this money than some other thing? This whole opportunity cost idea. And you had great questions, great answers for it. And, who am I to say no when it's something that you have already thought through and built up? It's the successful key to the business, and it's always paid off in the past. How could I say no?
All right. Well, thank you for joining me. Any last words of wisdom for the mamas out there?
Gosh, I don't think so. No, just I think you got all the wisdom in this arena, but approach it from a point of strength, a confident, from confidence. And I think that you'll have the kind of outcome that you really want.
Great. Well, thanks so much.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Sammy.
All right, mamas. I hope that was super helpful for you and really enlightening. If you would like to take this conversation further, I love helping women prep for a conversation with their husband about investments. This is one of the most common things that I talk to women about when we do free calls and think about working together. So if that's something you are considering, I would love to invite you to join me on a free call. We will talk about your business and where you are right now and where you're struggling. We'll talk about your big vision for the future and where you want to go. I will share the roadmap that I see to get you from where you are now to where you want to be. And then we will talk about what it would look like to work together. And I will help you make the decision and make a really strong, confident decision that you feel amazing about, and prep you for a conversation with your partner if necessary. If that interests you, go to bit.ly/callsamantha, bit.ly/call, Samantha. If you like this podcast, I want to invite you to coach with me over in my program, Mama to CEO. There's you, and there's the consistent income you want to make in your business, and I help you remove everything standing in between. It's lifetime access for mastering your marketing, sales, time, and everything else you need to have the business and life you really want. Whether it's making your first 1,000 or 100,000, I can help you do it. To join, go to mamatoceo.com, mamatoceo.com.